Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we are peering behind a massive curtain in the world of wellness. We've got a stack of sources that are usually just for brand executives, and we're turning it into an exclusive playbook for you. We're talking about food supplements, vitamins, proteins, all the specialty blends, and we're asking that one fundamental question that really should inform every single purchase. How safe is your supplement really? Our mission today is a strategic one. We're going to cut through all the marketing noise and look at what actually happens inside the manufacturing maze. And here's the key insight. The vast majority of supplements, they're not even made by the brand whose logo you see on the bottle. They're made by contract or private label partners. Okay, let's unpack this. Understanding the really stringent process a good brand uses to pick that manufacturer, that's your ultimate shortcut to judging quality and risk. We want to know what happens before the bottle even gets labeled.
That's the critical shift in perspective. The goal here is to give you a framework that goes way beyond just reading an ingredient list. When you're looking at quality, you have to evaluate the manufacturer's entire posture, their approach to regulations, their quality systems, and crucially, their traceability.
Traceability end to end.
Exactly. We need to be able to spot the strategic partners who see themselves as collaborators, as quality gatekeepers, not just, factories filling capsules for the lowest price.
And that partnership has to start with navigating the just incredibly complex world of global law. Because we are not talking about one system of rules here.
Not at all.
We are talking about a regulatory triangle, right, spanning the U.S., the EU, and the UK.
The complexity is enormous, and a really capable manufacturer has to be almost like a regulatory librarian, constantly updating their files. If we start with the U.S. landscape, compliance is everything.
The foundation.
It is. Brands have to prioritize partners with FDA-registered facilities, and the core requirements are things like robust batch records, clear processes to prevent contamination.
So making sure every single pill is identical.
Identical. And having a documented KPA or corrective and preventive action program for handling any deviations.
Okay, the KPA program. So that's the proof, the operational proof.
Yeah.
That they actually learn from their mistakes.
Yes. If a machine fails a test, they don't just fix it.
Right.
They have to document what failed, why it failed, and what steps they took to make sure it never happens again. It's continuous improvement, but in real time.
I see.
And tied to this in the U.S. is a transparent supply chain traceability system. You have to validate the identity and potency of those ingredients. It's a huge issue with global sourcing, and it protects against raw material fraud. Now, if we move across the pond, the EU landscape, governed by EFSA, is often much, much stricter.
Stricter how?
Particularly on health claims and novel ingredients. Manufacturers need ESSA-compliant documentation, clear paths for novel foods authorizations.
Wait, novel foods, what does that mean?
It's for anything that hasn't been widely consumed in the EU before 1997. So if a brand wants to use some new cutting-edge mushroom extract, the manufacturer needs to have already gone through this massive, expensive, multi-year process to get it approved. That sounds like a huge barrier to market entry.
It is, and it shows the manufacturer's commitment to R&D and just, looking ahead. If they haven't done that homework, the brand is instantly blocked from the entire EU market.
Wow.
And then, of course, you have the UK. Post-Brexit, it mostly mirrors the EU, but a reliable partner has to manage separate UK-specific labeling, notifications, and some approvals. The challenge is maintaining what our sources call divergent but harmonized labeling templates.
Let's slow down on that phrase because that's where it gets really interesting. You're saying a product could be perfectly fine by FDA standards in the US, but it might be totally illegal to sell in the EU or UK.
Exactly. All because of a labeling claim or an ingredient's novel food status. The manufacturer is shouldering the burden of triple regulatory diligence.
Can you give an example? Sure. A US brand might claim a vitamin supports X, Y, and Z. In the EU, those claims might get rejected. That forces the manufacturer to create totally separate packaging with much weaker language or even no claim at all, just to comply and avoid massive fines.
So same great product inside, but completely different regionally compliant paperwork on the outside.
That's what divergent but harmonized means.
That immediately makes me wonder, how does a brand know the manufacturer isn't just selling them a piece of paper? Compliance is the starting line. What about the quality system itself? All those certifications we see.
That's where we move from regulatory necessity to proactive quality assurance. GMP, good manufacturing practice, is foundational. It's mandatory, the bare baseline.
The minimum.
The absolute minimum. The truly reliable partners go way beyond that with voluntary certifications. We're talking about ISO 9001 for process quality, ISO 22000 for food safety management.
But isn't getting an ISO certification just a paperwork exercise? How can you, as the consumer, know it's actually being enforced?
That is a great, critical question, and a lot of companies do treat it like a badge. That's why major retailers often demand a third-party certification, like NSF/ANSI. These are independent audits.
So someone else is looking under the hood.
Exactly. Someone else is validating the product's purity, its potency, its safety, not just the manufacturer's own internal documents. So you have to see these not as badges, but as real, independent risk mitigators.
Okay, so if those are the badges on the wall, what's the actual operational evidence a brand should look for?
Yeah.
Beyond the sticker on the door.
Right. This is where the system really shows its strength. A crucial sign is evidence of robust supplier audits and scorecards. It means the manufacturer is actively grading their own raw material suppliers. They're verifying the quality of the magnesium or turmeric before it even comes in the door.
They aren't just taking their word for it.
Never. And inside their own facility, you look for internal validation processes, specifically IQ-OQPQ validation.
Whoa, okay. 3 heavy acronyms in a row there. Let's make that relatable. Why should I, the consumer, care about IQ-OQPQ?
Okay, think of it this way. A manufacturer uses a machine to blend a powdered greens mix. Installation qualification, IQ, proves the machine was installed correctly. Operational qualification, OQ, proves it operates within specific limits, correct speed, correct temperature.
Okay.
And performance qualification, PQ, is the big one. It proves the machine produces the exact same quality product over and over again for 10,000 batches in a row. It ensures the first capsule of the day is chemically identical to the very last.
That analogy helps a lot. It's about repeatability.
Yeah.
Consistency is safety.
Precisely. The system also needs documented change control, deviation management, and clear traceability from raw material to final package. It's the backbone. I was actually looking at one of our sources, and an industry expert put it perfectly. They said, clean, auditable quality systems are the backbone of safe, scalable product manufacturing.
That's a great quote.
It is. They went on, when suppliers show repeatable KP cycles and transparent data integrity practices, decision-making becomes faster and safer. That repeatable, transparent cycle is what protects you from a recall.
That really drives home that it's the process that protects the consumer, not just the ingredients list.
Yeah.
So once a brand has established those quality criteria, they hit a fork in the road. Private label versus contract manufacturing. Let's look at those.
Right. These two models serve very different needs, and they have different quality footprints. Private label is all about speed to market, shelf readiness.
So stock formulas.
Stock formulas, yeah. Tried and tested recipes. They allow for quick flavor or texture customization. The advantage is scalable production with really quick change control for small tweaks.
So if I want to launch a brand with a standard vitamin D capsule or a basic whey protein, and I want it fast and affordable, that's the private label route. The risk, I guess, is they might be using generic, maybe cheaper bulk ingredients.
You've hit the risk precisely. Private label gives you speed, but it usually limits any deep ingredient optimization. The contract manufacturing model, or CM, that's the path for complexity, for deep collaboration.
The R&D focus path.
Exactly. CM offers robust R&D support, formulation optimization, and QA rigor for really complex or novel products. With a CM partner, you're co-developing the formula. You should expect detailed tech packs, long-term stability data. This is for brands with novel ingredients or, advanced delivery systems where innovation is the whole point.
Speaking of novelty, let's move into that. R&D and formulation. This is where a manufacturer stops being just a production line and becomes a real innovation partner.
Absolutely. The forward-thinking partners, they maintain dedicated R&D labs, formulation libraries. They have to balance consumer demand for clean labels, simple ingredients, transparent sourcing, with the scientific complexity you need for efficacy and stability.
And that includes sourcing organic or non-GMO.
Oh, for sure. That requires its own separate supply chain management and a ton of documentation. But the real cutting edge right now is bioavailability optimization. Manufacturers are using advanced delivery systems, liposomal, phytosome, nanoscale formulations, to dramatically improve how your body absorbs the nutrients.
Those sound incredibly technical. How should we understand something like liposomal delivery in just, practical terms?
Okay, think of a nutrient like vitamin C as a passenger who gets seasick easily. When you swallow it, stomach acid can destroy a lot of it before it ever reaches your bloodstream.
Right.
A liposome is a tiny protective bubble. It's like a microscopic fat-based delivery boat. The manufacturer encases the vitamin C inside this bubble, letting it bypass all that digestive destruction and get to the intestines where it can be absorbed much more effectively.
That's a great way to put it.
But a reputable partner has to back that up with credible literature and stability data, proving the liposome doesn't break down too early. And here's the trick. They have to do it while maintaining a clean label without adding a bunch of fillers just to stabilize the technology. It's high-tech, low clutter.
So it's not enough to just have the cool tech. You have to prove it works, that it's stable, and that you haven't sacrificed consumer preference for it.
Okay, let's shift from the physical pill to data integrity. This feels like the modern risk landscape that people often overlook. Data is the new quality control. The first layer is just analytical testing rigor. It has to cover identity and potency, is what's supposed to be in the bottle actually there at the right level, but also contaminants. Heavy metals, pesticides, microbiological safety.
And the tests themselves have to be valid.
The methods have to be validated, yes. Scientifically proven to measure what they claim to measure. And if the labs are outsourced, which is common, the partner has to provide a clear map of their laboratory's accreditation.
And what about protecting the formula itself? If a brand spends millions on R&D, how do they protect that intellectual property?
That's where data security and serialization come in. End-to-end batch traceability requires robust electronic records. These prevent mix-ups and enable efficient, targeted recalls if they're ever needed. And that digital data has to align with strict standards, like the U.S. Standard 21 CFR Part 11.
Okay, help us with 21 CFR Part 11. What does that actually mean in practice?
In plain terms, it governs electronic records and signatures. It ensures every step from weighing ingredients to the final packaging is recorded digitally with an audit trail. It shows who did what, when they did it, and that those records cannot be changed later.
So you can't go back and fudge the numbers.
You can't. It's essential for IP protection and for FDA audits. It guarantees the data is secure and authentic.
So data integrity is the bedrock of everything.
Yeah.
That brings us to supply chain resilience, which feels incredibly relevant today.
It is the final massive risk vector. A strong partner proactively mitigates that risk. They conduct regular assessments. They maintain multiple approved suppliers for critical ingredients.
Especially for botanicals, I'd imagine.
Especially botanicals, yes. And they have clear contingency plans for interruptions. They have to monitor geopolitical and raw material volatility. If a key ingredient only comes from a region facing, say, political instability or new tariffs, the manufacturer has to have alternatives ready to go.
That's way beyond logistics. That's economic forecasting. And what about sustainability? That's a huge consumer demand now. Is that part of the manufacturer's burden?
Entirely. Consumers expect ethical sourcing and recyclable packaging. Good manufacturers have to track and validate their material sources for sustainability metrics, and they have to offer expertise in transitioning a brand to better packaging like post-consumer recycled plastic without compromising the product's stability.
So if a manufacturer is only offering standard plastic, they're not really thinking strategically.
Not about the modern consumer, no.
So what does this all boil down to for the listener? The process of choosing a manufacturer is, it's a high-level strategic evaluation. It's not just a price check.
It's a blend of compliance, quality, speed, and trust. A thorough approach starts by looking for evidence of a structured process. Brands ask for certificates of analysis, validation plans, and you should look for brands that openly share that level of diligence. It's also vital for a brand to run small-scale pilot runs early on. This validates the formula and stability before they commit to a massive commercial production. It's the ultimate litmus test.
So they're basically running a documented test drive of the entire system before they buy the car.
A verifiable test drive with full audit trails. And above all, you prioritize partners who can show you robust data integrity, end-to-end traceability, and strong IP protection. A strong manufacturer isn't just a vendor, they're a strategic collaborator. The brand you choose is only as good as the system backing their claim. You know, we often focus so heavily on the ingredient list on a supplement bottle, the specific strain of probiotics, the amount of vitamin D.
Right, but stuff on the front.
Exactly. But based on our deep dive today, the most important ingredient isn't on the label at all. It's the quality management system and the supply chain resilience of the manufacturer. If that underlying system is weak, the perfect formula, no matter how revolutionary it is just a high-risk gamble.
Which brings us to the final challenge for you, the learner. Knowing this intricate framework, when you're looking at a product on the shelf, think about the difference between a high-quality product and a high-quality promise. So which one are you really paying for? Thanks for diving deep with us today.